Well, let's kick things off with Operation Epic Fury. U.S. negotiators are likely leaving Pakistan without a deal after marathon talks with Iran came up empty.
But the Trump administration is ready to move forward whether there's a deal or not.
We've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement.
We win regardless. We've defeated them militarily. Whether we make a deal or not makes no difference to me.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. After 21 hours of talks in Islamabad, Pakistan, there is no deal with Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance was joined by Special Envoys Witkoff and Kushner and said this about the talks.
The simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations.
Reports indicate there are still gaps on the issues of uranium enrichment, control of the Strait of Hormuz, and the release of frozen Iranian assets. There are now questions about what comes next amid an ongoing U.S. military buildup across the Middle East that includes more transport planes landing here each day. President Trump spoke over the weekend about the situation.
Let me just tell you, we win no matter what. We've defeated their military. They have no navy. 158 ships are underwater, undersea. All of their minesweepers and all of their, they call them mine droppers. Can you imagine? A country has 28 mine droppers. You think that's nice? With all of that being said, they're all defeated, by the way. They're all at the bottom of the sea.
As the talks were ongoing in Islamabad, Israel and Hezbollah continued to trade blows, with Hezbollah launching drones and rockets into northern Israel, and the Israelis responding with strikes against southern Lebanon.
The campaign is not over yet, but it is already clear. We have historic achievements. I want to remember where we were. Iran tried to encircle us with a stranglehold. Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Assad regime in Syria, the militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen. Iran itself, they wanted to strangle us, and we are strangling them. They threatened us with annihilation, and they are now fighting to survive. We have prepared them. We still have more to do.
Direct talks are set to take place this week between Israel and Lebanon in Washington, D.C. These talks will stay for now at the ambassador level. Guys?
And Trey, you've been talking to regional sources. What is their response to Iran talks?
Yeah, Griff, regional sources tell me the Iranians made a mistake at the negotiating table in thinking that the Americans would take a deal at any cost, acting like Iran had won the war. What they didn't note was that their economy is at the weakest point that it's been in decades. And regional sources tell me the new assessment is that the economic damage to the Iranian regime greatly exceeds the pre-war estimates by the intelligence community across the Middle East. And I asked by how much, and one source told me it's impossible to know exactly, but we're talking about billions of dollars to the Iranian economy. And it's important here because the Iranians believe that they have leverage in the Strait of Hormuz. And a source described this to me as they are holding the strait hostage with a rope, but it's not actually a rope, it's a thread. And the real issue for the Iranians is their economy that, again, is so weak that they are focusing just on the only thing they have left. And this is the economic sector as it relates to their energy program. And if that is taken out, the Iranians will lose all leverage and ability to even come to the negotiating table, understanding that the Americans hold the cards here. They, along with the Israelis, have decimated the Iranian regime, the leadership, the production lines, and many of the launching positions for these ballistic missiles that have targeted countries across the Middle East. And again, they are focusing on their energy sector. And if that is targeted, the Iranians will be even weaker. And they're in a place right now that some sources have described as an economic downward spiral. Guys?
So we saw a couple of U.S. warships pass through the strait yesterday, and then President Trump is talking about beginning the effort to clear the strait of mines. Is this something that we believe might actually come to fruition in a matter of days or weeks?
It's hard to know, but yesterday, U.S. Central Command said that 2 U.S. destroyers went through the Strait of Hormuz, and they announced this as the beginning of a mine-clearing operation. Now, regional sources tell us those vessels were threatened by the Iranians, but of course, this is a very perilous area next to the Persian Gulf, and an area where the Iranians have threatened not just U.S. warships, but also the shipping vessels that carry cargo and oil through the Strait of Hormuz, around 20% of the world's oil. And so again, the Iranians are trying to use this chokehold at the negotiating table because they think that they have leverage. I am told by sources in the region that this can be addressed. The strait can be opened. There are solutions, but there are not solutions for Iran's economy. And that is really the focus for the region right now, as there are questions about if the United States and Israel are about to return to a state of war.
Trey Yingst, thank you so much. Great reporting.
Good stuff. Thanks, Trey. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.